Hello and welcome to Soap Opera Sunday, everybody. I'm going to do something different today. It's going to be very Beyond the Gates heavy because the rest of the soaps aren't giving me a whole lot to work with. So I did want to go over this next week preview for Beyond the Gates first and foremost, because there are some things to talk about. We're coming off an episode with a new character of Lynette, which a lot of people seemed interested in because it was my most viewed Beyond the Gates video by far. So maybe people are very intrigued with this Lynette character. But let's first talk about Nicole and Carlton in the preview, seemingly on a date, having a very, very close date. I find this odd because of the way they've been writing both Nicole and Carlton for the past several months now. And I try and stay away from spoilers, and I did a good job with Beyond the Gates until over the past month because it's been on the boring side, so I have been reading more spoilers. And so when I first saw this spoiler that Nicole and Carlton were on a date, I thought they gave the wrong name. I thought they meant Kyle. I thought it was like a misspelling. But then when I saw the preview and saw that it really was Carlton, I was confused with the writing, because they've made Nicole not want to move on after her divorce, and they've made her reject Carlton and just want to be friends with Carlton, and they've never really developed Carlton into a more well-rounded character at all. Meanwhile, Kyle has been very straightforward with Nicole, and she was even trying to play coy in not wanting a second date with Kyle. If Winterfest even counts as a first date, to be honest. But then we now see her on a date with Carlton, and I guess they really have Nicole playing the field all of a sudden, which I'm fine with. I mean, let her live her life. She is going through this divorce. It's just very different from the way they've written her these past 2 months, with the whole not wanting to move on with Carlton, or even try and date Carlton. But now she's not only dating him, but going on a date with Kyle. Sometimes the writing can be a little too all over the place on this show with me, and this is another instance of that. But I'm open-minded to it. If they're going to keep Carlton around, though, they need to actually develop him, because it seems like he and Nicole are even kissing next week, and that's... Kyle hasn't gone there yet. You know, he's kissed Nicole on the cheek. So, I don't know. Maybe Nicole's going to have some fun. I'm open-minded to it, but I hope the writing is actually strong for that. Now, we touched upon Lynette being this new character, and in the preview, she clearly does know Randy. So I am wondering if she is a scammer too, and that's how she knows Hayley and knows Randy, since we know them to be these two scammers who have gotten away with scamming many men in the past. Will Lynette be like a roadblock for Hayley in these plans? Will she try and get a chunk of the change herself? There's a lot of very intriguing possibilities for Lynette. She is the most intriguing new character on this show probably this year. I'm trying to think if any other really intriguing new characters came that didn't start in the first month of the show. You know, June came along later, and at first I was not a big fan of June. I've come along to like June as a character. Kenny was a short-lived character, and obviously Carlton and Kyle have come along later too, but Carlton hasn't been developed, and Kyle is big because it is Greg Vaughn playing Kyle. But yeah, I'm very excited for the Lynette character, and I hope that, like I said for the first preview, that the writing is strong for Lynette. Also in the preview, we see Leslie spreading to Ted that Vernon is having an affair, allegedly. I think they have dragged this story on too long, because they wrote Vernon in a way that he's actually a good guy when it comes to family, when it comes to being a husband. So nobody is going to buy that he's having an affair. So the show taking all this time to put effort towards this story is weird to me, when the payoff is just going to be most likely Vernon singing for Anita, and Sharon was just giving him lessons to sing better. I guess Leslie being a part of this story is so there is like egg on her face, but like, is this really going to be the thing to finally make the Duprees stand up to Leslie as her spreading this around? She's done worse than this. So I'm just wondering, at what point do the Duprees stop playing nice with Leslie? I would like to see that change in the writing sooner rather than later. The last thing in their preview is Bill trying to tell Dany that she's in the honeymoon phase of her marriage with Andre. And I think Bill's just continuing to be in denial about that. I still say this story has the best writing on the show because it has the most layers of any story on the show. And whenever it comes out that Bill's been being poisoned, or whenever Bill does have his health scare with all of this poisoning, Dany wanting to be around him a lot, wanting to nurse him back to health, is going to be a big hurdle for Andre and Dany and their new marriage. And so I am very much looking forward to see what the writing does with all of that. As much as I have lost faith in the writing as of late, they have done a good job with this story, and I hope they continue to do that going forward. Now, we will get to some of your comments on Beyond the Gates here at the end, like I always do. I guess I should touch upon some of these other soap operas for Soap Opera Sunday a little bit, but I genuinely don't have a lot to say. I will promote the Patreon, patreon.com/OCGTV. Right now I got some 1983 Days of Our Lives we're going over, when Bo and Alice Horton helped Roman Brady escape from jail because they believe he's innocent and not the Salem serial killer. We have some Santa Barbara from 1984 with Peter giving information about Mason that is tearing Mason's relationship with his family apart. And then on General Hospital from 1983, the big old Luke and Laura reunion. Speaking of General Hospital, modern day General Hospital, I have officially given up on trying to get back into that soap. You know, in recent weeks, I've been trying my best to get into it, but I gave up after Wednesday's episode. I still think there are too many problems going on with this soap opera. A lot of it for me will always be Valentini. He just does not do it for me as a producer. He has his favorites, and he has way too many characters. It's been my biggest problem since I gave it a good old college try. For a month and a half, I've sat here trying my best with General Hospital. But there has not been one single storyline that has sucked me in or made me care about the characters in the story or just the story in general. And I also do think it is actually a very repetitive soap opera, similar to The Bold and the Beautiful. The Bold and the Beautiful gets all its flack for being super repetitive with their triangles and relationships, which is very, very true, and why I haven't even tried to get back into that soap opera yet. General Hospital is the same, especially when it comes to their villains. They have Sidwell, who is just kind of a run-of-the-mill, typical General Hospital villain over the past 2 decades. And then you have Sonny and Jason working together to take said other villain down. And we all know, in the end, Sonny and Jason are not going to lose, so who cares? It's the same old repetitive shit. It's also, in my opinion, the worst paced soap opera of them all. Because I've been watching, like I said, been trying for a month and a half, and I'm still learning about different stories going on because they're moving that damn slow, or they're not getting enough time because they have 75 different stories going on. Lucy was on for the first time in a month and a half, and I found out that Lucy and Sidwell have some sort of sexual relationship. Wouldn't have known that after watching for a month and a half, which to me is terrible pacing. So, yeah, I gave up on General Hospital. Sorry to General Hospital fans out there. You know, it was nice to finally see Anna again, who's been held captive, but it wasn't enough to make me want to keep watching. So maybe I'll try again in the future, but it was a big fail from me for General Hospital. Moving on to Days quickly, I feel the same way I felt about Days for the past 2 months. I've been talking about it again. Good ideas. Sometimes the execution is a little lackluster. EJ has become the latest Dimera, kidnapped and locked up with the rest of his fellow Dimeras, with Kristen, Tony, Chad, Theo. Theo being taken is the odd one out here because he is not a son or daughter of Stefano, whether by blood or by adoption. So it is interesting to me that Theo was taken amongst this, and it seems there will be one more person taken next week as well. That's still probably the more intriguing story going on. I've actually considered starting to do recaps or reviews of Days more often. I don't know if enough people would watch that though. So you'd have to let me know in the comments if you're actually watching Days of Our Lives right now. And if I wouldn't recap it every day because there's too many boring episodes. But, maybe a couple times a week, if not 2 or 3 times a week. We'll see. But that's still like the only good story over the past week. I mean, I do like the Sophia and Rachel thing going on in the nut house where the teenager and the child are getting closer and helping each other. But them helping each other to escape to just go get some burgers it kind of made me roll my eyes. They are also making Xander very jealous of Brady and Sarah getting closer. And of course, Brady's having issues with Marlena because Marlena kept information about Rachel from him. So he moved out and he moved into the Kyriakis estate. And so he's actually going to be living with Sarah too. So I guess they're trying to build up a triangle there. But overall, last week was more boring than not when it came to Days. That leaves Young and the Restless, who also just has too many bad stories going on. I hate the AI mess. I hate this story where Victor's just able to use an AI program and wipe out people's money. Like, first of all, that's not legal regardless of AI programming or not. So how is that even possible without authorities getting involved? There's just so many holes with this terrible writing from Josh Griffith that I cannot suspend my disbelief to like it or care. So anytime that story is at the forefront, it's awful. Sienna ended up coming to Genoa City because Noah wanted her to, and since Victor was able to take Matt's money with the AI program or whatever, or wipe it out, she kind of has no money either. So she has nothing left for her in LA, so I guess why not come to Genoa City with Noah? But, Sharon had, she was trying to be passive aggressive with Sienna, with the fact that Sienna is old and dating her son. There is a big age gap between them. But Sharon was a little too passive aggressive in those scenes too. I feel like Sharon should maybe be a little more bossing up to Sienna. Anyway, the only story I still actually care about is anything that has to do with Holden, Audra, Claire. But they still are annoying me because Josh Griffith likes to tell stories with flashbacks instead of just telling us stories. So we have to deal with his flashbacks all the time. We have more flashbacks of when Audra took money from that man in LA and Holden helped her with him. But we did find out this week that he might have killed the guy accidentally, or he certainly hurt him because he punched the guy out. The guy hit his head. Blood was everywhere. So maybe there is a stronger connection there to Audra and Holden than we think. Meanwhile, Claire and Audra want to take each other down. I just hope it doesn't devolve into them trying to take each other down for their jobs or their businesses, because that's what everything else on this show is about. We have Abbott Communications being this new company nobody cares about. Meanwhile, Victor is still trying to take down Abbott, the Abbotts and Jabot, and that's the stupidest thing with Josh Griffith's writing. He goes in circles with these business stories that aren't actually stories. So that's a major problem too. But I'm glad we had more Holden, Audra, Claire this week. Claire even talking to Sienna about Holden because they have that history in LA too. Claire saying that they're just friends, but they're clearly more than just friends. So I am still rooting for the Claire and Holden pairing because we actually have some chemistry there, which is missing from a lot of these other soap operas. So that's good. I also think Kane and Lily do have chemistry. So that's good for them. I like their scenes this week. I do think Billy Flynn and Crystal, who plays Lily, have chemistry. I like their pettiness in their scenes. They're teasing each other in their scenes. Lily actually going for low blows and Billy kind of playing off of that. And Kane being very, very excited to go on this date that's really not a date with Lily. Of course, Phyllis plays a part in this too because Kane and Phyllis are hooking up. And Kane finally got Phyllis upset enough to admit that she stole the AA program and used it as a bargaining chip to get what she wanted from Victor. So I guess Kane and Phyllis have made enemies out of each other like they keep saying, but they still ended up kissing. So I guess this is supposed to be one of those relationships where they have all this sexual attention because they deep down are so annoyed with each other. I don't know. I don't hate the Kane and Phyllis stuff necessarily, but Phyllis is involved in a little too much on this show too. She's always showing up to parties to ruin them. Looks like that's going to be happening when Lily and Kane go on their date together too. So that gets a little old, but I don't necessarily dislike all that. Let's get to some of your comments on Beyond the Gates from this past week. Hemi30 said, Joey arriving at the... Well, this was about Joey arriving at the country club. Hemi was saying, I'm so disappointed in Joey. I was really hoping he would stand on business and not give pathetic Vanessa what she wanted. Sigh, shake my head. Yeah, that was disappointing. I liked the dynamic they were making there for a while with Vanessa just being a messy drunk, not getting her way, and Joey not giving in to her. He did eventually give in to her, but she still wanted more at the end of the week, so maybe Joey will stand his ground for a while again there too. Hopefully they keep Vanessa a messy drunk, because that's the only thing working for her character right now. Barbara Gregg disagreed. Barbara Gregg said she loved Joey and Vanessa coming out in public. Didn't work for me. Quas Sarah said, I couldn't decide what I felt about Hayley's outfit. This was on her pink outfit day, I believe. Quash Sarah said, I like the outfit, but not for work in a law office, and maybe not on short little Hayley. I was glad she decided to overdose Bill since he just got a clean bill of health. This should cause his doctors to look closely at what is happening. Yeah, he would have had to have gone to the damn doctors first, but he's being a dumbass. Quas Sarah said, drunk Vanessa is fun. I guess we can't look forward to that anymore. I'm still hoping they make her drunk, and that's a possibility. At the end of the week, we still see some potential messiness between her and Joey. Universal Love 878 said, Eva is a product of Leslie's long-term narc abuse, but she is also refusing to break free, even if it costs her healthy relationships. She has become her mother in many ways. Yeah, the show half of the time tries to show us that Eva cannot break free from Leslie and her ways. The other half of the time, they make it seem like Eva wants to break free of Leslie and her ways, and it seems like the writing can't decide which way they want to go. Now, Universal Love and Quasera had a discussion within the comments about some of this, and Quasera said, I totally agree that people are always responsible for their own actions. The sad part is that very often without therapy, people don't even realize what they are doing is a learned pattern from dysfunctional families and don't know how they are hurting other people and most importantly themselves. Dysfunctional patterns feel normal and continue until something causes a breakthrough. Eva is still young and is not aware of her actions are so devastating to herself, let alone others. She is in denial and thinks she is the protector of her mother. One of the writers probably had an interesting relationship with a highly dysfunctional mother. It makes for interesting storytelling. I thought that was a great response at the deeper issues with Leslie and Eva and their dynamics. And Eva definitely feels like she has to protect her mother a lot because that's all she had growing up. And I do think that's part of the reason why she can't break free from her mother's narcissistic ways. So I do wish the writing was stronger for them lately. I do feel like they've kind of been all over the place. But the deeper issue does still stand between them and their dynamics. And I do think the show does a good job with that sometimes. Angel Onette Bolden said, I think Laura should put her foot in Leslie's ass just once. That's how you tame a bully. I'm so tired of Eva. I would like to see Laura just go off on Leslie, because how much can a person take after a while? And I don't think they should always write Laura as scared. Now, she is just a side character still, and they struggle to develop some of their main characters at times, so I can see why they haven't developed Laura into a character that evolves yet, but I still hope that they do go there if they're going to keep Laura around. Bobby Wobby had an interesting idea with Laura, saying, I was hoping that the show would do a storyline of Laura terrorizing Leslie and no one would believe her, like that guy that did Denzel Washington in the movie Ricochet. I haven't seen that movie, but I do like the idea of Laura wanting revenge on Leslie. Not necessarily just to terrorize her, although that would be a good story, but like I said, Laura should reach a breaking point of some kind and should at least maybe want revenge. If she doesn't go off on Leslie and just keeps it bottled in, how would she not want revenge at some point, in my opinion? Sandra Washington said, please stop Ashley and Derek. It does not have any kind of story that would keep anyone interested. It's the same story. And speaking about bad acting, those two are so nothing one way or another. Amen. Ashley and Derek, if they circle back to each other, I'm going to be so over it. They either need to, if they're going to put them back together, they need to move town. Get off the damn show, because they don't work. They don't even really work as single characters either. I think Derek at least has a little more potential than Ashley. But together, there is zero potential. Alicia8857 says, I know a lot of dumb lawyers. Bill is not out of character, especially when it comes to personal lives. I believe Alicia is the lawyer in the comments, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's why you are saying this. And so maybe lawyers are dumb when it comes to their personal lives. Last comment, DGF6275. This was regarding my idea that Lynn Herring should be cast to play Joey's ex-wife. DGF said, on GH, Lucy Coe had a montage featuring Rick James' song Lucy's Rap. She was that bad girl. Yeah, Lucy was a great bad girl back in the day. Always entertaining, and I think would be great in a role where she is Joey's ex-wife, who not only messes with Joey, but would go toe-to-toe with Vanessa. I think there is potential for entertainment there and making Vanessa and Joey's story better. That's all for this week on Soap Opera Sunday. We'll see what soaps I talk about next week, if not just Beyond the Gates, the way that things are looking for the other American soap operas.